And in the last session, we covered something like S3 and the snow family part and all, right? Just we covered the S3 topic. There's a kind of a storage, right? What we all learned in the S3 is a storage, but in the storage we have a different categories, and that S3 is an object-based storage. That is what we learned, right? But in that object-based storage, we have a lot of features. We learned almost like every important feature available. And then on Amazon, we have another type of a storage. As of now, we covered two types of storages. One is EBS, which is a block-based storage, and the second one is S3, which is an object-based storage. Apart from that, there is another category or another type of a storage, which is elastic file system. Elastic file system, which is also known as EFS. Because we have already two types of storages, but what exactly this elastic file system is, it is a network file system. It is a network file system. What exactly the network file system is? What is that network file system means? Let us say there is a hard disk, okay, like a kind of a storage, okay, and here there is something like a network switch in your organization, like a network LAN connections and all. And this storage is not directly connected to your computers. This is connected into the network using a LAN cable. Okay. And let us say this is 100 TB storage, for example. Then what the network administrator, the storage administrator will do is they will split this 100 TB into multiple smaller pods as per the requirement. Like one is like 100 GB, the other one is like a 5 GB, the other one is going to be 20 GB, depending on the requirement. What exactly this is, they will make this as network file system. In a simple words, I can say in your machine, in your computer, there is a folder, and you can right click and you can share the folder, right? What is the advantage of sharing the folder? Within the network, anybody can access the data available on the shared folder. The same way here, how this network file system works is, let us say this is, let us say 100 GB NFS, which is EFS on AWS. And let us say here we have multiple computers. We have multiple computers. Let us say 1, 2, and 3. The advantage of the network file system is you can connect the storage with multiple computers at a time. What is the advantage? Whatever the data is available on this NFS can be accessed by all the EC2 instances or all the computers simultaneously. You might say, okay, we have an EBS, right? But with the EBS, that is not a network file system, and you cannot attach the EBS volume to multiple EC2 instances at a time. Now, what are the use cases? What are the use cases of the EFS is whenever you want to maintain a file server in your organization, right? That NFS is the best example or best suitable use case for this EFS. Like, let us say here, in your organization, you are having like multiple employees, right? Let us say there are 5 employees who are working on some projects and all, right? These are the computers of those employees. Let us say computer 1, computer 2, computer 3, 4, and 5, right? So as a team, they have to work on the same project, right? And here you need to maintain a file share. You need to maintain a file share. What is the advantage? These people can access that file share within the network, and they can access the same data. Like, say, let us say that data is 10 GB data, and that 10 GB data can be accessible by all these 5 people at a time. No need to maintain 5 different copies for each and every employee. This is a simple use case. The other use case is, especially in the data analytics, data analysis, What they do is the data analysis tool will be running on multiple EC2 instances, for example, multiple EC2 instances, one, two, three, and they have to analyze the data and they have to generate some reports. What if I want to store the data on the three machines? If the data size is like 10 terabyte, to store the 10 terabytes for three machines, it will consume 30 terabytes. But here, what we can do is we will maintain the EFS here. We can connect. Technically, that is known as a mounting. That is known as mount, or in Windows, we call it as a mapping a network drive. This EFS is also known as a network drive. Whatever the drives available on your computer are a local drives. Network drives means the drive is available over the network, which is not directly available on your computer. There is a network drive which can be accessed over the network. So what protocol is used here? In this EFS, the protocol used is NFS protocol, and that version is NFS version 4. And the most important thing here is this EFS is only supported with Linux operating systems. Means this EFS is accessible only from Windows machines. Sorry, only from Linux machines. You can't access the EFS from Windows machines. What if you want to maintain a file sharing service for Windows machines? There is an alternate called EFSX, similar to NFS, but this is for Windows. EFS is only for Linux machines. Okay, right. So now what we do is, let us write down few points. EFS is AWS managed service, which offers network storage, which offers network storage. EFS works on NFS version 4 protocol and is only supports Linux operating systems. And unlike EBS, for the EBS volumes, right? While you're creating the volumes, you need to choose the size of the EBS volume. But here, this EFS automatically grows and shrinks based on your usage. EFS automatically grows and shrink based on the usage of, or based on the data to be stored, so that the actual size what we utilize is a chargeable. Like on what basis you will be charged is the size of the data stored on the EFS is chargeable. You won't be charged for like 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte by default. But in the EBS, if you create 100 GB volume, whether you use it or not, you will be charged for 100 GB. But here, there is no point of like choosing the size of the volume at the time of creation. Same as S3, it supports unlimited storage. EFS supports unlimited storage space. Unlimited storage space. Actually, automatically, it will increase to allocate your data. Whenever you delete the data, automatically the size will be reduced. And the main advantage is EFS can be mounted to multiple EC2 instances at a time. So can you guess what is the maximum number of EC2 instances we can attach? You can attach to multiple EC2 instances. There is no limit. Okay, so first what we do is create an EFS file system in Northern Virginia region. Then mount the EFS to multiple EC2 instances. I can say multiple Linux EC2 instances. At a time, you have to mount, like means the EFS is connected to both EC2 instances at a time. Then we need to verify the data consistency and all, right? So log into server 1 and create data into EFS storage. Then log into server 2 and verify that we can access the data created from server 1. Simple example, Google Drive, right? Google Drive. If I create a Google Drive and if I share with everyone, if I create some data into the Google Drive, you can access, someone can access. If you have enough permissions, if you modify the data, I can see the changes and someone can see the changes, right? The same way it works. But how to mount and all the things, I will show you. So for this, what we need two Linux servers. We need two Linux servers to complete this particular hands-on exercise. So quickly, let me create two Linux EC2 instances. I will say across two availability zones, not in the same availability zone. Let me try across two different availability zones. Both will work. So quickly, let me create two server 1 and server 2. Then we will come back and we will see. So I think everybody knows like how to create the EC2 instances, how to connect to the Linux EC2 instances and all the things. So without wasting the time, let me create these two instances quickly. So here I can create server 1. Now, every EC2 instance requires a security group, right? Without a security group, you can't create an EC2 instance. And here we are going to choose Amazon Linux operating system. That's okay. Now, coming to the security group, what traffic we have to allow? That's the most important thing, right? What traffic we have to allow? Any guess? Not a guess. Already we know, right? What traffic we have to allow? Give me a second. Let me check the key pair access, whether I do have access or not. And Virginia's SP is 03. Okay. So we need to allow SSH traffic, right? To log into the Linux machines, we must use SSH protocol. Okay, here let me choose 1E, server 1. For server 2, I will choose a different one. Okay, here, this is the Linux SSH. 8 GB is more than enough. Linux instance. Now server 1 is getting created in 1E. Let me create one more EC2 instance and let me name it as a server 2 in a different availability zone. Server 2. So I choose Amazon Linux, t2.micro, key pair, network settings, subnet. Instead of 1E, let me choose 1C. Okay, security group, Linux SSH. These are the security groups which we created earlier, right, in the EC2 topic. Okay, two EC2 instances are getting created, right? Now, let us log into those two EC2 instances. How to log in? What happened to server 1? Can you see still it is in the pending state? Not yet created. There might be some issue with that availability zone. Issue in the sense, if there is not enough resources, right? It might take some time, but we can launch in a different, what we call the different availability zone. I don't want to waste your time. Let me stop. Let me terminate it. Okay. Let me launch server 1 again in a different availability zone, not in 1E. If I wait for a few more minutes, the server will be ready. No worries, no doubt in that. But I don't want to wait. One E, one C. Let me choose one C. No, I think earlier the server 2 is also one C. Okay, one A. Select existing security group. Okay, how to log into EC2 instances? The Linux EC2 instances. SSH protocol to be used, right? And what tool we have to use? What should be the tool? Putty tool you can use, Mobaxterm you can use, but you have to use SSH client. Okay, first let me connect to server 1. Here is a public IP. Let me open my Putty tool, enter the public IP here, expand SSH, authentication, credentials, browse the private key file. Wait, we did a mistake. I mean, I don't have access to those key pairs or something. Let me check quickly. Okay, here it is. So I don't have the key pair in the PPK format. Let me generate the PPK format. How to generate? Putty gen. I have a key pair, but that is in the PM format, PEM format. So putty key generator. Let me click on load. Go to all files, select the key pair, save private key. Yes. N Virginia SPG3. Okay, that. Okay, save. So I saved the key pair in the PPK format. Now let me open. If you have a tool called a Mobaxterm, directly you can use the .pem format itself. No need to convert into .ppk. Okay, first let me log into server 1. Okay, let me increase the font size. Appearance, change. Let me switch to 22. Okay. Open. Yeah. Accept. What is the username? EC2-user. We connected to server 1. Now let me connect to server 2 also. Just for differentiation, I will use a different color, white background and black font. Okay, just for differentiation. So IP address of the server 2, let me attach the private key for login purpose. I go to appearance, font size, I will go with 20. And here somewhere colors, default background, I will move to white. Default foreground, I will go with black. Just for differentiation. See here, this is the differentiation. EC2-user. If you see a white color background, there is a server 2. If you see a black color background, that is the server 1. Okay, now servers are ready. Now what is the next step? We need to create an EFS file system. How to create the EFS? In the AWS console, type EFS in the search box, which will takes you to the EFS service, managed file storage for EC2. Let me click here, EFS, which will navigate you to the Elastic File System service. Okay, so here click on create file system, right? So name, I can say my first EFS, a name. In which network you would like to create, that you have to choose. Unfortunately, we have only one default network. Now, I don't recommend you to create with all these recommended settings. I recommend you to click on customize. So you can choose all options as per your requirement, like how much throughput you need and data lifecycle rules. If any data is not accessed for few days, it can be moved into infrequent access and all, right? So backup configurations, encryptions, everything we can customize. So click on customize here. Would you like it to like a regional or a one zone? If I choose one zone, what exactly happens here is, so whatever the availability zone you choose, only from that availability zone, the file system will work. But in my case, my servers are spread across multiple availability zones. Sorry. Ignore that. The difference between the one zone and regional. One zone means whatever the data we upload, that data will be stored in a single availability zone. A single availability zone. And if you choose the regional, your data will be spread across multiple availability zones. Why? If one availability zone fails or crash, your data is available on the other availability zone, and that can be easily recovered for high availability and durability. They will provide you the highest availability and durability by storing all your data across multiple availability zones if you choose a regional. So in the real time, whenever you are going to create the EFS, it is highly recommended to choose the regional. And automatic backups, it is also highly recommended to enable automatic backups. Now, lifecycle management. If any object, if any data, if any file is not accessed for 30 days, then I would like to move it to infrequent access storage option so that storage charges will be less. If any data is not accessed for 60 days, I would like to move that into archive storage class. So the cost will be reduced. If someone started using any object which is in IA or archive, automatically that will be moved to standard on first access. If someone accessed it, which means, okay, someone is trying to access it. So in the future or then in the next few hours or minutes, few other people might access the data. If I keep the data in IA and if multiple people are trying to access that, retrieval charges will be very high. So on first attempt of access, that object will be automatically moved into standard storage class. You can compare these storage classes with S3. Then encryption, you can choose whatever the encryption key you want, like this. Then performance mode, enhance and bursting. Enhance, what is the difference between these two are? If I choose bursting mode, there is no option to choose. They will provide you the performance with a basic performance and all. But if we choose enhance, the performance will be very high. If we choose elastic, okay, to understand this better, let me choose a provision. Means if I say 2000, means I will get 2000 MB per second. Whether someone is using it or not, I will get 2000 MB per second. What is the elastic? This is highly recommended because based on your usage, the throughput will be automatically increased whenever there is a demand. And if no one is using the data transfers, automatically the throughput will be reduced, like auto scaling. Performance will be automatically increased and reduced if someone is not using it. It is highly recommended for better charges and better performance also. Additional settings you can choose, but here in the elastic there is no additional settings. But if you choose per provision, you will get extra options also. But it is highly recommended to choose elastic. Next, what happened? Did I miss something? Okay, right. So here in your network, how many availability zones we have? We have a 6 availability zones. Whenever we create the EFS, see here, this is the, let us say, EFS. This is our elastic file system. And I said this elastic file system can be connected to multiple EC2 instances, right? Okay. So this is in 1A availability zone, this is in 1E, and this is in 1B. How these will be connected is with the help of mount point. With the help of a mount point, the EFS can be mounted to EC2 instances. How these mount points are available in every availability zone? There is one mount point. 3, 4, 5, 6. Let us say A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, and these mount points are connected with EFS. Okay, if you want to attach the EFS with the server 1, which is in the 1A, it will be connected like this. This will be connected like this, and this will be connected like this. So these EFS will have a security group. Every mount point will have a security group in which you must allow NFS traffic. If you don't allow NFS traffic, EC2 instances are unable to communicate with the Elastic file system. Right? So here there is a security group, which is a default security group. Okay. Now what I do is I will open EC2 in a new tab just to show you this particular, because this default security group will never ever allow any traffic. So what I do is let us create a security group. So here I will say create a security group to allow NFS traffic, to allow NFS traffic, or else the EC2 instances are unable to communicate with your EFS. So here under network and security, here click on security groups under EC2, create security group. I will say EFS name, description to allow NFS traffic, inbound rule. I don't know what is the port number, even I can't remember. So here in the type, I will type NFS 2049. Source I will choose anywhere and click on add security group, and that's it. Okay, so by default, whatever the EFS we are about to create, that is attached with the default security group, which will never allow the traffic, right? So here what we do is, so here, where is the refresh button? Okay, let me go back one step. Okay, click on next. EFS, right? Choose EFS. For all mount points, 1, 2, you can see 6, 3, 4, 5. What about the sixth one? Okay, let me check that. 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1F. 1E is not showing, right? Even if you remember, while we try to create an EC2 instance in the 1E, we got some error, right? That's the reason here. It is not showing 1E. It seems there might be some issue in the 1E. That's okay. So now here, let me click on, if you want to add, you can click here, 1E, and that is also possible. You can create it manually. So that in the future, if you create something in the 1E, that also works. Click on next. Keep everything as it is. Next. You can see here, right? Click on create. The EC2 in EFS is getting created. It's ready, right? Now, how we need to mount it? How we have to mount it? So in the Linux, if you see, if you connect a pen drive in Windows machine, we can see that as a D drive, E drive, and so on, right? But in the Linux, that's not how it works. How it works is, first we need to create a folder. I will say data. And this EFS should be mounted to this, means whatever you create in this data folder, that is actually stored here. That is what the mounting in the Linux machine. So I will show you how to mount it. Mount the EFS to multiple Linux EC2 instances. So first step, okay, here I will say here, mounting procedure. The first step is create a folder with any name that doesn't matter. /server1. Folder name is server1, or I can say my EFS, any name that doesn't matter in server1. Then mount the EFS to the folder /myEFS. What does that mean? So whatever we store in the folder /myEFS is getting stored into the EFS, which is network drive. Same thing we have to repeat for server 2 also. So here I will show you the commands and all, like how to do and all. So first thing is like create a folder /myEFS, right? And the what is the command? Obviously, we have to use a sudo. mkdir is to create the directory /myEFS. So this is the folder name in that location called slash. Then what we have to do? Mount the EFS. Mount the EFS. I will show you that command. No need to remember the command. Okay, so first let us log into server 1. Here is our server 1. So sudo. First, in which location we are in? pwd. I'm not in the slash. So how to change cd space slash? I'm in the slash. So now sudo mkdir /myEFS. Let me type ll. Can I see my EFS here? Right? Okay. Now we need to mount it, right? How to mount? Before mounting, if I type mount, it will show you what all got mounted to your machine. See here, this is XVDA128, your storage of your EC2 instance, and the same way temporary storage and all. Here, this is your 8 GB drive, which is mounted on slash, I think I need to reduce the size of the font, change settings, appearance, change. I think 16 is enough. Yeah. See here. This is your 8 GB drive. The 8 GB drive, XVDA1. And here you can see temporary storage and all the things. But no need to worry. We are not Linux administrators. Okay. So now how to mount it? To mount, no need to remember any commands. Go to your EFS, select your EFS and click on view details, which will display the information of your EFS and all. See here, complete information will be displayed here. Now we want to mount, right? So here you can see attach. Now this is the one which we have to use. Attach, mount your Amazon EFS, EFS mount helper. Let me copy this command. Let me paste in the notepad. So here, let me explain. Sudo is common, mount -t EFS. We are mounting EFS with using TLS security. And this is your file system, Elastic file system ID. And where we are mounting /myEFS. This is the directory name. This is what we have to type. Wait, what happened? Unknown file system type EFS. Okay, so sorry, we did not install any EFS and all the things. Just we can use NFS client, this command. That will also I will explain. Wait a second. Sudo mount -t. We are using NFS 4 protocol, NFS version 4.1, size, and what we have to change is this one /myEFS, your folder location, and copy. To use the first command, we need to install the EFS helper and all the things in the Linux machine. Now, you are not supposed to get any error here. If you are getting some error, means there is something wrong. Okay, done, no error. Let me type mount again. Now you can see something at the end. This is the file system, which is mounted on slash my EFS using NFS4 protocol. That's enough. These are the address of the client and all. So here you can see now on this machine, we attached EFS. See here, there is a command called df-h by using which you can see the storage and all. This is our storage, which is 8 GB, which we AWS volume. And this is the file system EFS, where it is mounted slash my EFS. What is the size? 8 exabytes, because it is auto scalable, right? The backend hard disk, right? That is what 8 exabytes. But whenever you use it, automatically it will grow. How much we use? It is 0. Right. Now, I want to create some data. But let us mount on the server 2 also. The same procedure, no change. Go to server 2. So MK, so first CD space slash, where I am in, slash sudo mkdir slash myefs. Right now I'm on server 2. Whenever you see a white color background, there's a server 2. Black color background, there's a server 1. Okay, now we need to mount it, right? For the mounting, the same command. There is no change. If there is a change in your folder name, you have to change the folder name at the end. Done. Let me check mount. You can see somewhere at the end. Here it is mounted. But easiest way is df-h. You can see file system EFS is attached on slash my EFS folder. Okay. Now what I do is, at a time, for both EC2 instances, the EFS is attached. Now we want to test. How to test? Let us remove this here. So repeat the same on a server 2 also. Now I can say in note, EFS is mounted to both Linux servers. What are those servers? Server 1 and a server 2. Now, the next thing, what I'm going to do is log into server 1 and create a file in EFS. What does that mean? File in EFS storage. By creating at slash my EFS. That is the folder. Whatever you create in this folder will be automatically stored. Once it is done, what we have to do is log into server 2 and access the file. I can say create a file. Let us give a name as server1.txt, the file name. Access the file server1.txt. Okay. I think you got the clarity what we are trying to do. So where am I? I'm not in the my EFS folder. Right now I logged into server 1. CD space my EFS. Yes, let me do pwd. So I am in the my EFS, which means whatever I create here will be created in the mounted storage, which is EFS. How to create a file? I will use a sudo, that is common. Vi is a command. I will say server1.txt, enter. And to enter the data, press I. So I can say this file is created by user from the server 1. Some meaningful message. Then I want to save it. How to save? Press escape, shift colon WQ, write and quit. That's it. So we created the file in the EFS from server 1. The same file is accessible from server 2 also. How to check? Now this is server 2. Where am I? Not in the EFS folder, not in the EFS storage. CD space my EFS PWD. Yes. Okay. Now let me do LL. Can I see? Okay. Let me view cat space. Cat is like just to view. See here. Okay. Now what I do is let me edit the data. Let me edit. Okay. So now from server 2, edit the file server1.txt and observe the changes from server 1 and observe the changes from server 1. Okay, so here I'm in the server 2. How to modify the file? Same sudo space vi, the file name. What I do is I will press I, insert mode, go to end, press enter. This file is modified by server 2. Just some added some data, save and quit. Now I will go to server 1, right? Now let me check. Can you see? It is a kind of a shared file system, shared storage. That is what EFS is. Only limitation is, only limitation is EFS can be used with Linux instances only. It doesn't supported by Windows. Why? Windows file sharing requires a different protocol called SMB. SMB. What if we need a shared file system for Windows machines? There is a file system called FSX is the alternative for EFS to be used with Windows EC2 instances. FSX is the alternative for EFS to be used with Windows EC2 instance, works with or works on SMB protocol. EFS works on NFS protocol, right? NFS, Network File System Protocol. This FSX works on SMB protocol, server message blocking. It's a Windows file sharing related protocol. Okay. This is about EFS, Elastic File System. So are you guys clear or any questions on this EFS? Okay, so if you guys are clear, let's stop the session here. In the tomorrow session, we will discuss a topic called cloud front, which is a most important one, a small topic, but most important one. Every organization will use that particular service called cloud front. Okay, right. Any questions before closing the session? Are you guys clear or any questions?